I remember the name. Jazz Takhar, best in the game. Mamba mentality in his own lane, so better pay attention to what he be saying. Get the message, ain't no question. Giving advice for any investment. Welcome to the broadcast, the Jazz Takhar podcast.
All right, Kathleen, in your Instagram stories and your Instagram posts and stuff, I've been seeing that you've been doing some traveling and stuff. And so talk to me a little bit about that. I definitely want to know like where you've been going and what's happening with your business. But just before we get into that, for some of my real estate agents, mortgage brokers, my salespeople, that's kind of my viewers and listeners, entrepreneurs as well. Give me that comic book story, like that Kathleen Black 101, where this all started from, because I don't know a lot about your backstory even personally. And I always say this on the podcast that you know, I'm very selfish when it comes to my podcast. It's done for really one reason and one reason only, for me to get to know people. And it's cool because of today's mediums that we can use, that other people get to be a fly on the wall and get to learn from the questions that I have. So I also want you to be selfish right now and like give us that Kathleen Black comic story.
Comic story.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, there's lots of comic stories. I always say, not even joking, I'm like, I've already had my 9 lives, so like I'm grateful. But getting into real estate, like I was an investor. My ex-husband was an investor, so we'd buy properties, gut them completely, and make them into multi-units. So that's how we got into things. I didn't want to get into real estate. I had 2 little kids. I was managing properties. I was doing lots of sweat equity work, a lot. Everything like sanding drywall, painting outside, like everything needed to assist. So it was a lot, but we had a realtor who was lovely, like his personality was lovely, but his ability to assess investments was not spectacular. And my husband at the time kept saying like, you need to get your real estate license. I was like, hell no, like I don't need to do anything else. He's like, no, like you're micromanaging our realtor, like you're assessing all the investment properties. And our realtor started to say to us like, you can't keep growing this fast, which to me was like, well, what do you mean? We have goals. Like these are, and I think he was worried about burnout, which in the end he was right. But so yeah, I got my real estate license and I thought I was just going to do it to build our portfolio.
And where was this? Like, is this in Toronto?
Yeah,
or like...
we were buying property in Film District. Then it wasn't as established as now, like the beaches. And we were doing the old, like live in it, get a unit in the next one done enough so you can hop into the next one, like, you know, well-known story, right? And then finally we thought, okay, we'll go to where we have more land. We have little kids now. So we went to see an investment property for my sister in Oshawa. And I was like, there's no way it's that cheap. Like, what are you talking about?
What are you talking?
2007,
okay, cool.
maybe. And it was like, you could get a 2.5 story semi for like $50,000, like $70,000. Mind you, it was almost falling down. But as an investor, so like, I'm going to come and see this. And then there's this huge house, backs on a park, 300 feet, like yard. And I've got 2 little kids. And it's an old house and it's vacant. And I love that house.
Right.
And my husband was like, no, this is not a good idea. But me being me, I was like, something about it. We kept going back. So we moved to Oshawa. By then I had my real estate license and I just intended again to add to our portfolio. But I started to interview around and to meet like brokerages and teams and things like that. And to me, it was really important to get as good as I could as quickly as possible. Okay. So I decided to go on a team where I felt like I could get 10 years experience in 2 years. And thank goodness I did. It did really well for me. My first...
I was just keep going. No, I'm looking off just for my viewers behind the cameras. There we have my business partner and our VP, Laura Stewart. And as you're speaking, you said you wanted to get as good as possibly as quickly as possible. And so you joined a team. That's exactly her story as well. So it's really cool. Like, and we say this to not only real estate agents, but anyone who's starting out in business, is that if you want to cut down the time in half, just get to the table that these conversations are happening. And if you can't get a seat at the table, I don't care. Bring coffee to that table. Ask what you can do. Like, what value can you bring? And so I love stories like yours because it just lets people understand that there is an easier way. Success leaves clues. Like, you don't have to try to reinvent the wheel, but continue on. So then you found a team. How did you go about finding a team?
Well, I went and I had a Excel and I went to like 20 different like the brokerages and the teams and I charted all of them, like what I would make if I hit my goals. I knew. And the interesting part was at the end, they were all pretty close as much as there's different angles, right,
Got
to
it.
present it.
What did you do like in school and stuff? Because I want to get into that for really quickly.
Oh,
Like, why
I
the
have
Excel
a
sheet? Because I'm not
honors-
that person.
I have an honors BA in psychology and women's studies.
Got it.
which-
Okay, so
yeah.
there's a lot of like taking notes and organization like that. I mean, that's
I'm a systems person
Got it.
naturally.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Got it.
So yeah, got into real estate, decided to go with the team, started training, which it's not, later on I created the onboarding plan for that team, ironically, but then we had a little bit of onboard training, something now I spend a ton of time doing with teams. And then I got separated, really messy. You can imagine investment properties. It wasn't just a relationship, it was a business, and everything got frozen. And I had to figure out how to pay the investment properties because my name's on title, but my name was not on title for the primary residence. It was a very messy time. So I found myself as a brand new real estate agent, 2 kids under 5, and never having been the breadwinner for them. And I had to make a decision. I was like, do you go back to managing dental offices because you work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday? You can be there for the kids, or do you invest in yourself and say, hey, 2 years from now, if I can get good at real estate, I can protect my kids and my family. And anybody who's navigated the family court system, it's a horrible place. Like, you walk in and you feel like you failed. You're like, here I am. But I didn't have the money to protect my kids. So I decided to go in at real estate, and I was going to get really good. I sold 44 homes my first year in the business with 2 kids on my own. And it was hard.
Where did the confidence come from? Like, if you can go back to that time when you had to make that decision, dental office, it's a lot more secure. You got the safety. I get the 9 to 5. I get the every 2 weeks I'm going to get a paycheck. I understand that. But then if you can kind of go back and think back to that time, like what made you say, you know what, I am going to do the real estate thing? Like, how did you make that decision? Because I think a lot of people, and we were talking quickly off air about, and we'll get into it, like, majority of it is a mindset thing. It's 80% making that decision, having the mindset that you're not going to be someone who quits. But what was kind of your process to get you to like say, you know what, I think I'm gonna go down this real estate route? Because it's scary. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why not to do it. I'm sure that part of your brain went off as well. Like, don't do it. You've never done this before. This is not your expertise. I'm sure you had outside noise telling you that.
Lots.
Right?
Lots of outside noise.
Like for everybody who's taking their dog for a walk and you know, on the treadmill right now, like Kathleen's face like just lit up the second I said, I'm sure there was a lot of outside noise. How did you navigate through that?
Well, I think first, like, mindset I've always been intrigued by how people use adversity, probably because I left home at 15. Like, I went through a lot of difficult stuff, and I think, thank goodness, it made me really strong. So I knew at that moment that dental seemed safer, but I also knew it wasn't safer, right? So I was able to kind of look at that. And also, it's not a popular answer, but I was kind of pissed off. I was kind of like, screw you. Like, I'm going to protect my kids and my family.
Back up against the wall.
Yeah, there was desperation. There was like necessity, which is a good thing sometimes. I always say, like, a lot of my clients don't grow where they could because now they have a little bit of what they wanted. And they're like, I don't want to lose this little bit. And to me, I'm like, no, that little bit is what I use to get further always, right?
For sure.
So I wanted to lean into it. And to me, if I was going to do it, I have this belief we talk about. It's one of our values in coaching: model the best, forget the rest. What you can create in 10 years, you can mimic in 2, right? So I was like, I'm not watching anybody who is not top 1%. I'm not paying any attention. Like, you don't have my ear. So I wouldn't model everything. I'd just take what was working that was really, really well.
In terms of, you know, and I'm so glad that I asked you to kind of talk about your backstory and why, like, being a podcast host excites me so much, because I had no clue that you were an investor. So like, I'm so glad that we can also speak about that as well. Like, I knew a lot about your coaching, your organization, and how you help business people, salespeople, entrepreneurs, real estate agents. But I didn't know that you kind of had that investment background as well, right? And so even before we go into some tactical stuff for agents and stuff like that, like, what's your thought right now of what's going on in the market? Like if you, with your investor hat on, like, where's your headspace at?
Well, that's an interesting. So first of all, I mean, I made the mistake. I've invested heavily in a lot of other people's business with my time, energy, and attention. And because I run a coaching business, and when they win, I win, literally. And I believe that to my core, right? So that's how I built my business. It's not just sign up with me. It's like, I need you to win, because if not, there's no testament to what I do. So we've worked very much that way. So when I rebuilt after the separation, I didn't invest as heavily as I should have. And that was a big mistake. So I didn't build back up. And after we sold everything, within 2 years, it had doubled, because think of the timing in the market. So it was interesting. So I am back into it, but we were spoiled a bit. Like, all of our things were were cash flow positive. Like
Right.
I did all the numbers
Well,
on
you're buying
everything.
you're buying
it's a different time.
You're buying a semi in Oshawa for 50
No, we
Gs.
didn't buy that.
No, but I'm just saying, like, you could
Should
have,
have.
right?
Yeah.
You're seeing things back
Sure,
then.
yes,
I mean,
yeah.
now picking up a semi in Oshawa
Yeah.
at the time of this, like, you know, in 2022,
Yeah.
you're upwards of like $700,000, $800,000, right?
Yeah.
And so, I totally understand that part. And just in terms of like with what's happening with
Right
the
now.
interest rates and stuff
Yeah.
like that, what would you advise somebody to actually take the plunge? I mean, obviously every situation's a little different, but I kind of want to get into your head and like what your thoughts are around that.
You know what? Like years ago when we were getting like heavier into investments, there was a gentleman in the beaches and he said to us, he goes, end of the day, like none of the, and this is, please understand, said none of this is real. Like it's like Monopoly. Then like more seriously, and you get all freaked out. He's like, you have to look at it like a strategic game. He's like, when the market goes down, rents go up. Like you, and I always stuck with it. That and the other thing we always believe, leave something for the next person to win, right? Like always leave something.
Leave a little meat on the bone.
Yeah,
I get
yeah.
it.
So I think right now, in my perspective, people have equity. This is a great time to lean in. I'm expecting to lean in and get back into the market. We haven't had that chance in a long time.
Well, yeah, because there was so much competition, right, for us as investors when we were competing against an end user, and it's going to be very, very hard as Yas might be looking at a 3-bedroom home with his partner. He starts to envision like the family growing there. He's going to be there for 10, 15, 20 years, and when he starts to put in his offer, it's not a numbers game to him in terms of actually what's the return on my investment. As investors, we have to look at it from that perspective, where now we don't have as many buyers out looking for properties. And so from an investor's perspective and our vantage point, I mean, there's a lot of compelling buying opportunities. That doesn't, and I should have prefaced it, or maybe we should put a disclaimer at the bottom here, that doesn't mean that jump in without doing due diligence.
No, always
or
educated
everyone
risk.
do it, right? Yeah, like you got to really figure this out for yourself, get your numbers right. I actually think it's a time where there is going to be a little bit of a reset from a financial perspective, hopefully for everybody who's watching and listening, that like now would be a good time to maybe sit back and see where you can put away some money. Maybe you might need to cancel some subscriptions to Hulu and Netflix or whatever it is. But also on the flip side, if you have the confidence and you're willing to take some risk, I mean, now might be a great opportunity to go get that side hustle as well and get that started. Because if you can start to grow some income on the side, then you'll actually have some more options, right?
Absolutely. And I think it's like everything for me, I'm a strategist. So risk analysis is really important. So I was a single mom. I have nobody to bail me out, right? So some of my clients, I've watched them, they have teams and they'll get like the person struggling. I gave them this much. I gave them this much. I said, and now you're in trouble. Who's going to come for you? I'm like, I have no one to bail me out. So I have to have a tight ship. Like this is not optional. So my mindset was always now I travel, as you mentioned, but keep my overhead really low so that I could compete with my competitors who had backup, who had leverage. I'm like, I need to keep my home so stable and safe that I can lean so far in business. And that worked really well for me. And if I had done an investment, I would have done even better, but I love my business.
Well, look, I mean, hindsight's 2020 in
Yeah.
that sense, right?
Yeah.
In terms of like, from a strategic perspective, what did you do? Like, was this just like writing down on a piece of paper some of your expenses, what the strawberries cost, the organic strawberries cost, and maybe cut back on that? Like, what was it like from a strategic perspective that you did?
I tried to keep my overhead really low with like, I have a cottage, I have a house, but I live on Simcoe in Oshawa. My kids' school is right across the street. The babysitter was right next door. And when I got an office, it was 3 blocks. I could walk there because you know how much time we spend as parents on pickups and drop-offs? A lot.
And gas.
When you add it up, I was like, I don't have time for that. I can't win and do the drop-offs. So we're going to eliminate them and bring everything to us. So things like that were very strategic. And I think it's important for us to let ourselves, like, I think sometimes we think we have to do everything. I don't do everything. I just do the priorities.
See, look, for everybody who's watching right now, just another point and another story of somebody, if somebody has done something that you want to do, and they're in the same situation as you. And I know there's been some like fucked up things that have happened to people. But if someone else has gotten out of that situation, they come from a very tough neighborhood, they come from a single parent, maybe they don't even have parents, maybe there's some type of like handicap or they're disabled or whatever it may be. if someone else has gotten out of that situation, you really don't have an excuse now. Because we're hearing it, like, you figured it out. Well, okay, I'm gonna keep my kid's school really close to where we live. I'm gonna get the babysitter, like, down the street. And like, you have to really be able to understand and seek out somebody that's actually done what you want to do. And I think that's the best strategy, right? And that's probably really the theme of today's kind of conversation so far, because it's so unfortunate the times that, and you hear it so much, I'm sure, in your organization and the people that you coach, Kathleen, is that, look, I can't do this because I don't have any money. I can't do this because I have a lot of negative people in my life. I can't do this because I don't have that skill set. There's so many of those I can't do it because of, but if someone else did it, like, you just got to figure out how they did it and literally use that as the blueprint and just reverse engineer what they did.
Yeah. You're either investing in the present or you're investing in the future, right? You have to pick. And how many of those people who are around me is like, I'm not like you, Kathleen. I can't afford to go and do this course and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I just went through a divorce. I've got 2 little. What do you mean you're not like me? Like, you're on your own.
If you really knew who I'm like what, like, and I get that too. Like, Jazz, I don't have that. I'm not as good looking as that's a joke. But like I don't have that skill set. Like, and it's like, dude, man, like, don't you think when I'm driving home sometimes, like, I'm second guessing myself, and sometimes, like, I don't go into things like this whole podcast new studio we're sitting in, it was a thought, but I can tell you there's been a lot of people that have said, you're an idiot to do this. It makes no sense. Like, when I was originally doing the podcast, when nobody was using this as a medium to speak to people, or like, you're a real estate agent, you got to focus on sales. But yet I still just figured out that I saw somebody else do this and it worked really, really well for them. And I said, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. We're going to try to make this happen. Kind of transitioning, Kathleen, like, I want to speak to the real estate agent, that is right now experiencing a downturn in the market. Not all of them, but a lot of them. I've always said that the ones that were winning when the market was doing really well, they're more order takers. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean that to knock anybody, but it's a different skill set that is needed when you have to go out and educate people. You got to have the numbness almost to make sure that you pick up the phone. Hence why we have the red phone sitting beside me, because it's always a reminder. You got to pick up the phone and call people. Yeah. Rather than when somebody just emails and says, come list my house. Those are great. I love those as well. Mm-hmm. Or can I just get the 1-bedroom plus den facing west on a pre-construction condo, for example? Yep. There's not a lot of service and sales needed there. Mm-hmm. Anybody who got their license yesterday could have done that. And so it's more order taking. Yep. But now we're about to see the cream raise to the top, right? Rise to the top. And so what are some things that you're telling your clients, your coaching clients, how to navigate through this market right now?
Well, first of all, I mean, I think we're doing a lot of mini SWOT, and like just last week I had our 100 deal plus mastermind. So once a quarter, we have all of our people, or 100 deals or more, the leaders come on in mastermind. So I said, hey, let's start. I flipped it the way we usually do. I said, hey, let's start with our weaknesses and our threats. I usually like to go positive first. I'm like, let's list them out. And there were a lot. And I'm like, okay, now look at it directly and say, because this is happening, thank goodness, it's giving me these amazing opportunities I wouldn't have had otherwise. And every single one of them I was like, I'm going to tell you something. You're going to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of opportunities for every one of those problems. Like, that's the reality. So right now I'm doing a lot of focus with mindset as leaders, because we set the tone. When we come in, if we're unsure, like, first of all, I love a shifting market. There's a bear market, a bull market, and a shifting market. And in a shifting market, those who are experience and process driven thrive. We know how to plant seeds in process when times are dark, so that when the sun comes out, all those things that we were investing in come to fruition. Not every single one, but many more than the people who weren't doing it. And I think that's a huge skill set, to have the mental discipline to say, hey, maybe I can't take people all the way to firm deal right now, but I can take people like into, for us, a buyer consultation, a BRA, market education. I can keep touching base with them. And the minute their confidence goes up, we're ready to go.
See, I love that, because you're just trying to move the needle slightly, right? Like, you're not trying to go from not doing any deals to like getting deals done. It's like, let's just move to the next step, right? I always use the example of if I were to go to a bar, I wouldn't be an idiot to slip the hotel key to the girl and say, meet me in room, 1112, right? Like I'm going to do a little bit of whining and dining. Just maybe I can just get a drink. Maybe I can buy her. Maybe I can get a yes there. And then I can maybe get into a conversation, right? And with what I think you're trying to articulate, it's like, okay, can we just maybe like educate some people first? Like, let's just do some education on what's going on in the market. Help the marketplace decipher what the heck is going on with interest rates. At least your take on it, or like what should you be looking for in an investment property? Sure. What should a home buyer be doing? What should a home seller be aware of right now? And then it's like, hey, maybe we can come over to your house and do a consultation, right? So I love the fact that your process, because you use that word, and we use the word a lot, but I think a lot of people are like, well, what processes do I need to put into place? I don't even know what to put in place, right? But yours is like, let's just move the person to first base, not try to hit the home run or the grand slam right away, even though I'm a big believer of hitting grand slams and home runs. They make those big leaps in your career and in your life. But right now might just be, let's go back to basics and let's just one call at a time. Hi, Kathleen. How you doing today? It's Jazz calling. Where's your headspace at in today's market? We've been doing that for the last 17, 18 days, team. And we're at a little over, for the last 18 days, we've made 3 guys in my office who are full-time salaried. They've made, what are we at, Laura? We're at 1,700 calls, 1,800 calls or something? 1,800 calls. Awesome. 28% connected rate. So it tells me somewhere around like a little under 400 people. So call it 400 just for argument's sake. Yeah. 10 deals firm, in like contract firm done. Sure. And we have 7 people out and about looking for properties. So we never went to like, we never focused on deals. Yep. We never, like the conversation when I had with my core group was never about doing deals. It was about, let's just go back to basics, habits. Pick up that phone and just start calling people.
Yeah, well, it's the oldest thing in the book. Like when I'm training a new recruit on a team or an experience, it doesn't matter. It could be somebody who does 100 deals on a team and they're having a slowdown. It's like, we're going to take all your working hours that you're not face-to-face with clients and move them all back to prospecting time. And once you filled them with the other time, we can pull back. And it works unless they need communication support, which we all do sometimes. But if they're strong on communication, then that works really well. I mean, I think it's important to say, like, all high performance teams, athletes, they're all process driven. Like if you're listening to this, you're like, what does that mean? There is nobody at the elite who's efficient, productive, and profitable who is not process driven. It's very, very difficult to do that. So it's like the high performance person says, what do I need to know? Like you said, what resources do I need to know? How do I get to the table so I can do what I need to do to have what I need to have? The majority, 98% average, are like, give me what I want to have and then I'll invest in it. Then I'll do that. So it's constantly like reaching for something that's unattainable.
Right. Now, what are some like common themes that you've seen with like high performance, not only teams, but just like anybody that you've kind of, that you followed, or like really the ones that you've actually helped as well? Because I think you've seen them from the 0 to the 100 because you've been part of their journey as well. What's some common themes that you've kind of like, you're able to pick up on, like, you know what, these 7 people, like they started their day at 9 a.m. on the phones. Like they might have woke up at 5 a.m. and did their meditation and their yoga and all that kind of stuff. But like from a business perspective, is it like that they had a 3-hour prospecting window first thing in the morning? Did they do it in, like, what have you kind of seen?
I mean, I think it's interesting you asked me this question because I support people on teams and individuals, but I'm a performance and mindset person. So like I strategize them to grow. So I'm always looking to build the foundation for them not to solve the same problems again and again and again and again. Like that's what I do. So listening to that, it's like I try to look at how always to lay the foundation to get them to the next level. So I mean, we've had teams where we built out like how you pay your agents, how you train them, how you recruit them, they're tracking everything. And those are systems they still use. And they're like over 1,000 deals a year now, right? So like the growth there can be phenomenal, but the habits for individual agents on teams, like COVID aside, take that out for a second. I'm still a big believer in you get up and you go to the office. The people who kind of go, okay, well, when the client's there, I'm like, how do you do real estate? Like, I can't even get my head around it. It's just so reactive.
Oh, I'm just
right?
like you. I
like you go to work.
100%. I did I don't know, it was maybe like 6 weeks, 11 weeks already. It was 11 weeks. It's the part of my life I want to forget for sure, which we all do, I'm sure. But it was 11 weeks of like working from home. But like my wife figured that like I was at home like a regular day off because I was being asked to do all the housework around the house. And I'm wondering, I'm like, how does this all get done when I'm not here? Or we wait till the end of the day, or we wait for the weekend. And I needed to get to the office as quickly as the second I heard that there's nobody at the office, I'm coming back. I called 2-3 people. I said, guys, are you guys comfortable with coming back? If not, you don't need to. And they're like, Dad, Jazz, we're dad. I felt like sometimes I guess I am like a dad at the office. Jazz, I can't wait to get in. Let me get in, because that was a routine for us, right? So I guess for you, like you're saying, you see these guys, which makes sense to me, because even in our office, aside from the 54 agents that myself and my business partner have, we see the high performing guys and gals make sure that they come into the office. So is that something that you kind of see as well?
Absolutely. Or they're very disciplined at home, but they're like, this
hard.
is work. It is hard. I mean, I feel like I've got my kids trained, like I'm working, that's it. But like they come into the office. The other thing, you bookend your day. Like your CRM starts your day, your CRM ends your day. There's no way you don't know if you miss something. Like, so that's really important. I think some people, well, what am I going to do in the office? Well, that's valuable. If you're sitting in the office all day, you don't know what, like, that's valuable. What am I supposed to be doing? So, and like you said, you're at the table.
And you're immersing yourself, right? You're immersing yourself in conversations that you normally wouldn't be having at home. And you don't know what tactic you're going to hear from somebody at the office. Now, I am a big believer that if there's a lot of negative conversations and complaints happening about the market at the water cooler and at the coffee machine, you got to get your ass out of there. Like, because, right? Like we know that as well. Like, so make sure that you're in an office or in an environment anyways, that is one of that is positive, right? Where people are at least trying. That doesn't mean that the office has to be doing 1,000 deals a year. Like our person has to be doing that, or our team, but at least that they're trying to kind of get to that, right?
Absolutely. Like, how many teams have actually left brokerages or brands because of the culture at the office and they didn't want to be around it, and they think it's because the team wanted to be on their own. Most of the time, it's actually not. That's a really big factor.
When somebody's new or starting out, or maybe they've been in the business for a couple of years and they just haven't found that culture. Like, how do you suggest that people, like, I just tell people, look, at the end of the day, interview a bunch of brokerages, and so I don't have a real system to it, so I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this, but interview a bunch, and wherever you get that gut feeling, that's how I hire people.
Sure.
But that works for me. That might not work for everyone. In fact, like Parsa's here behind the 1s and 2s on audio. He's my assistant. He has no friggin' clue what he was doing when it came to audio, but I know his attitude is right, that he would figure it out. Like, I know he would spend 5 hours, 6 hours on YouTube, 20 hours if it took, to figure out how does that recorder work and how are we going to get the best audio. I'm watching him now. It's only his 3rd episode that he's actually controlling the audio, but I can see the confidence. Like, we had some audio problems throughout this shoot, and we apologize for anybody who's kind of going in and out, but it was the attitude that I was really hiring on, right? Not the skill necessarily, but somebody who's new. How do they find, like, if the culture is right for them? Rather, like, is it just trial and error?
Well, to me, it's like you want to surround yourself with excellence, right? Like, again, I don't do average performance, so it sounds weird, but it's like I only model the top 1%. That's it. So to me, you need to be around that. And the top 1%, in my opinion, they don't show up to an opportunity unless they already know what they're doing. And that's an important thing. Like, how often in real estate, we're like, well, we're just going to show up and figure it out. It's like, well, why? Like, there's an approach that already works. That you just lost that deal, which could have been worth 25,000, 30,000, 10,000, whatever it is for you. So to me, it's like you have to know how to win at every single step in your process and invest in that. I think that's a big order for brokerages. Even the best brokerages, that's a really high order. Like, think about the splits at a brokerage and splits at a team. You'd be like, yeah, I'm paying a team maybe more, but the team is investing in you, converting at a multiplier that's exponentially higher. I mean, a great team will help you convert exponentially higher on your COI business than you will on your own if you're struggling. So to me, even if you don't want to be on a team, it's like, get around people who are at a high performance level, or invest in yourself. Hey, you don't have to coach with me. Coach with somebody who can get you the ability to know how to win, be prepared. It's not just what you know, it's how you do it, and then how you do it well. There's 3 steps, right?
Look, I mean, I think real estate is an amazing investment. It's probably the best. I'm biased, but that's because I haven't got into the world of crypto and stocks. But for me, the best investment anyone can make is into themselves.
Hey, don't talk to anyone about stocks right now.
Yeah, right now, right now.
Nobody's feeling that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think anybody's feeling Bitcoin either right now and some
No,
cryptos,
true,
right?
true.
I think we have some guys and gals coming on the pod soon to talk about it. But that investment into yourself, I just don't. I don't see enough people doing it. Like, and it doesn't necessarily have to be through coaching. I think coaching is a great place to start. And depending on where you're on your career path and in your journey, it's a great place to go. But like, even like just listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks, like that is investing into yourself. Like, to think that you're going to get into a business that here in the GTA anyways, I think there's 76,000 of us real estate agents, and I always make the joke that you can throw a stone and you'll hit one. Like, and you're not going to find ways to differentiate yourself is ludicrous. Like, it just doesn't even make sense that you're going to get into this business if you want longevity. If you're someone who's in part-time, I'm not speaking to that person. Like, do as you please. Yep. But if you want to be in this business full time and you're not investing into yourself through either joining a team, coaching, listening to audiobooks, and then inevitably actually doing the work and then adjusting along the way. I mean, there's an acronym around me here that says ready, fire, aim. Is because we want to remind people, like, look, pull the trigger, go for it, join a brokerage, join a team, and then adjust along the way, right? But again, like, to how about somebody know if the culture would be right for them, like before actually even joining the office? Is there anything there, or is it? And that's where I was going with that earlier. Like, is it just a matter of trial and error?
It's a good question. I mean, I think a great brokerage or team is interviewing you just as much as you're interviewing them. And that's as it should be, right? You need to go in with your questions. You need to ask value, like I call it value elicitation questions, right? Like, what's important to you about a team? What is your ideal work environment? Like, you need to know what you want as well. But also, I mean, if you can be in an environment where you're being paid to learn, like when I was on a real estate team, I was being paid to learn. Like, that's a phenomenal thing to be able to do. Right. So I think, and
when you say paid to learn, like, what do you mean by that?
Like, I'm learning 10 years or 20 years versus experience in 2 years. And all the people who came in and said, I'm not going on a team, we're out of the business. And I was like thriving and doing extremely well. So, it's just different perspectives. But I also think, coming in, like, in this industry, and I'm not knocking because there's good, bad, whatever, but there's a lot of piecemeal. Like, there's a lot of people cheering us on, even if we're lost. And I don't need somebody to cheer me on when I'm lost. I need best in class. How do I get from A to Z? And I need it from an expert. And that's what I'm looking for. So there's a lot of like, here, rah, take this piece. And I find that's really hard for us to get our head around, like, how do I do this industry step by step in a way that I can win? Yeah. And I think for me, a big part of culture is like, can you have somebody who will make those investments in you? Will you make them in yourself? And can you just learn and listen and not try to tell the people who know how to do it until you know how to do it too? Then tell them. So then, like, they want to learn.
100%, right? Like, being coachable is huge, right? Like, everything. That's probably, without me even knowing it, when I'm hiring an agent on our team, and I really focus more on the support staff now than anything else. If I find someone's coachable and they're going to be coachable, I'll take that over skill all the time. Because to me, skill is somewhat a commodity, right? Like, I don't need you to know what 67,000 times 57 is. Like, I don't really care, because Siri will tell me that a lot quicker than you will, right? But the fact that you're going to be coachable and be willing to go through the ups and downs, I mean, that's just so much more valuable to me as an employer looking to grow a team as well.
But I would make a bet, Jas, that means you're coachable and you're willing to invest in yourself. And that's a big culture sign, because we have leaders, not in my community, but we have leaders who are like, no, like, they can't learn anything here. There's nothing to learn. And then you find the team leaders like, well, I don't need to learn anything. Like, we run Ultimate Team Summit, and it's really interesting to see a team leader come in who, like, last year they did 550 deals. And they're like, I really want to hear this person because we need to up our video game. And they're so good at it. And then you have somebody come in who's doing 50 deals a year and go, oh, I have nothing to learn here. And you're like, but you're only going to attract people who don't want to learn, because all energy attracts like energy, right?
Sure. I mean, I think once you've come to realize that you mastered something, that's only to realize how much more you have to learn.
Forever.
Like, for me, it's been 28 years in sales. I've sold newspapers, I've sold shoes, banking at like mortgages and loans, cars, and now real estate for 17 years. And I don't tell people to, like, just for the sake of telling them that. I'm saying that, but like, I got a 22-year-old that joined my team about 3 years ago, and he was one of the kids who wanted to intern with me, which he did for 6 months, then became an assistant, a paid assistant, and now became an agent. And I hear him on the phone sometimes, and I'm like, I like that one. I like how he said it. I like what he said. And sometimes it's just like a word that I would have used, but then he said it in a different way. And I pick up on that. All the stuff that you're, like I said, I'm selfish. I'm going to listen to the podcast after and take on, like, we actually transcribe everything you said. And we're going to share that with our team. Awesome. And I'm going to actually listen to it in the car as well. Cause I'm like, I can easily learn from Kathleen because she's coaching some teams that are doing 1,000, 2,000 deals, and we're at, our team is a little over 700, so we got a long way to go still, right? And so, that's great. We're very grateful and very blessed, but we still have a lot to learn. And I can tell you, and if my business partner Simos was here, we could rhyme off the 67 things that we suck at still. Like, we really suck at a lot of stuff. We have a lot of holes in our organization. We're trying, right? Like, we're just two guys that are trying to figure it out, putting some people together, and even from a media perspective, we're always trying to figure things out, right? And so that, for anybody who's sitting there saying that they've done even 500 deals, 5,000 deals, and they don't have anything to learn, let me tell you about Kobe, who won a lot of championships at a very high level, a very high performer. And that guy was learning from everybody and anybody he could that even came into the league. So there's a lot that you can learn. That's like, even if you've been in the business for a very long time.
Well, it's a different sideway thing, but I believe some people I call them seekers, right? And I think I'm a seeker. That's why I travel. That's why I pilgrimage. That's why I hike, because I need to be with my own people, right? I need to be with seekers. And seekers are really cool because I believe, and I think a lot of them believe, that anybody you have an interaction with is there to give you a gift and learning. And if you're not looking for it, you miss it. And it's like, there's always, if you start to pay attention, there's always these patterns. It's like, this person isn't here by accident. I was trying to learn that 2 months ago, or thank you world for showing me I was screwing up, because now you're sending me these people. And it's a really, magical way to live, right?
100%.
It makes you curious and open.
Well, I love that. People are asking me a lot these days, like, why do you keep trying to push the envelope so much? And I'm like, you use the word, I'm like that little monkey. I'm very curious right now to see how far can I take some of the talents that I have, but along with a crew of people, like, how far can we take this? I'm very, very curious to kind of figure it out. And so much so that we actually even opened up what we talk about. Like, if this was 2 years ago, you and I might not be sitting down for a podcast on my platform, Kathleen, only because it was all about really my journey in real estate and investing, right? Where now we're really opening it up to say, what are some other stories that we want to document, and what are some other ways to create wealth? There isn't, just because I do real estate and I like it, and as I mentioned, I'm biased, but there is crypto, there is stocks. People have made billions and trillions of dollars in those industries. And so hence why we're really kind of opening it up. But I still kind of want to go back to the real estate agent, because a lot of our listeners are real estate agents. Do you believe that you have to start to grow a team in today's market? Or is there space for still solo agents that don't have either the headspace or the patience that it really takes to grow a team? I think that's what it's mostly comes down to. Yeah. Is there still a space for some solo agents?
So my belief, and I spend I spend a lot of time in real estate, but my belief is that I try to help people move out of ego, which is small mind. I can only do everything. Nobody can do it as well as I can, into big mind, consciousness with, hey, there's different ways to see life. There's different ways to do life. And once we move there, we can move healthily into collective. So I think there's a lot of people who still want to believe the real estate industry is what it used to be. There's a buyer, a seller, there's an agent. And it is so much more multifaceted, so much more sophisticated than that. It's only going to get more sophisticated than that. So my belief is you need a team. It takes a team. It's one of our beliefs. And I don't think that the true solo agent, I also don't think we really have too many true solo agents anymore. You have a brokerage, you have admin, you have your mortgage brokers you trust. You need a close-knit team to survive in real estate, but team is the byproduct of growth, right? How are you going to grow and not leverage? How are you going to do this? You stay stuck in ego, you stay stuck. Costs you a lot of money. We know this, right? Anything I think I'm better than other people at is costing me a lot of money. For sure. Let's just say it way.
And you could just delegate it to somebody and focus in on your your core strengths and what you kind of enjoy. When you're talking about the team, I'm very curious. Who's the first person, a solo agent, when they're a solo agent, they want to grow a team, who's the first person that they should bring on?
Well, I have like a 99% answer, and then I'll have my 1%
Go.
answer.
I want to hear them both.
99% answer, it's an unlicensed admin, because they need to build out their system. And it's also the most resisted hire because, I mean, I know cash flow is, I call it cash flow is queen. And I believe that, like, if you got traction in the market, you can make money. But I mean, people resist it. So like, I need to recruit agents because there'll be cash flow. It's like, you don't have the value proposition or the organization to bring on the agents, right? So yeah, definitely 99% of the time, let's build out your foundation, because you're doing all these tasks and you'd be worth whatever it is, $200, $400, $5,000 an hour, and you're doing, doesn't matter, $20, $30, $50 an hour work. And it's not that we don't value those people. We need them, we love them, but your business isn't as strong because you're demoting yourself.
So let's stick on this unlicensed assistant for a second. What are you suggesting that this unlicensed assistant helps with?
And I love that you bring this up, because some people are like, do you have a set job description? Yes, we have a sample one, but I'm a big believer in collecting like talent, right? So I need to know what I'm really good at in order to customize what I'm going to have them do. But 99% of the time, I mean, they can do your organic social posting, they're creating your process, your CRM, they're doing all your paperwork, your deal records, they're doing everything as much as possible that is unlicensed for them to do. But if there's something that you uniquely love, you might hold on to the marketing and organic posting, because for years, this is why I still have multiple channels, because I like to express myself as an artist. So I'm like, just let me do stuff.
I still post everything.
But they post on everything else. But I have mine that I post.
Well, no, like in all my profiles, the only thing my team actually posts is on the audio platforms and on the YouTube channels, because the files are too big.
So that tells me you're good at it and you like it. And
well,
it
I actually enjoy it because I got my my thumb to it. The odd time, like, I might need to post something, and I'll look over to my assistant and say, Parsa, do me a favor, man, just post this. Sure. But I have the write up for you. I have everything, just post it. But let me choose what's going to be going up on the platform. So I totally continue.
So that's a perfect example, though. That's like what we call a genius area. So if you have a genius area, hold it. But there are other people who we know never post anything. Like, their admin can at least have something going on. So we have a generic job description. We always have them customize it, because we find if you're using HR people and you try to fully leverage it, bad things happen. Because then they come into the team, you don't know exactly what they're supposed to do. You don't know what to train them on. So, I mean, we spend a lot of time like helping people hire, interviewing, and then onboarding and training. And then how do you set up your CRM? All the like a lot of our people work with Follow Boss, whatever you work with is fine. But like, what are all those plans? Because again, I want an integrated system, not a piecemeal system. So we're building it out.
Now, so my answer is always an assistant. The only thing that I added to it about 5 years ago now was an executive assistant.
Oh, sure.
And the reason I say that is because I actually, and this is not, people who really know me, they know I'm not bougie. I'm not that person. I don't have time for that. Like, I wear the same thing every single day. Like, I just got new shoes, so that's why I'm wearing them. But other than that, it's the same jeans, it's the same shirt kind of thing. Same color, I should say. The reason I went executive assistant is because I found that I was still doing things that needed to be done in my personal life that didn't need me to do them. And that really, like, that was, I always say that content creation was probably the biggest game changer in my business. But I think it's 1A. I think the top, like number one is the executive assistant, because I don't even have like a computer. I haven't touched a computer in 5 years. I don't have an MLS authenticator. I haven't been on MLS for now coming up to 5 years, because I taught my assistants how to do it. They can pull out up all the listings. But like, I was sitting at a car dealership for 3 hours once because they couldn't get me a car. I couldn't get a rental. I'm sitting there. Yeah, I could do some work, but there's people around. And the second I got like my assistant, he drops it off. She would drop it off. Like, it just should be taken care of. I'm able to do more of this. I'm able to get on the phone and grow the business and actually do the stuff that I like to do, right? Absolutely. And so I think I completely agree with you. More people, what is it that you think stops people? Is it, what I generally hear is, Jazz, I don't got the, and let me just throw out kind of a number. Let's just call it 50,000, for example. Sure. Okay, just for argument's sake. Check on Indeed, check on LinkedIn. You can see what people are paying these days. Figure it out. Just for a round number, let's call it 50,000. I hear people say, I don't have that 50,000 right now to actually pay. For me, it's, you got to figure that out, because I can guarantee you, once you start paying the $4,000 a month to someone, it's going to free up so much more time, not for you to chill at home watching Netflix, but to actually bring in business. But what are you hearing from people that stops them?
Oh, it's such an important conversation, right? We go from solopreneur into expansion into teampreneur, and people like to think we go solo to teampreneur. In my experience, we don't at all. And
So
what
you
you're
said solo to
solopreneur to expansion
Okay.
to teampreneur. So part of the expansion is exactly that. How do business owners look at their business? How do they think about financials? How do they organize their money? Like the number of teams who come to us, and I look at their budgets, and I'm like, you're not going to be able to stop selling ever. Like this plan doesn't, no one's going to buy this business. You wouldn't buy this business right now, but they don't want to change their compensation plans. It's like, I can't change math, right? I sound so warm and fuzzy. I can't change your math. But anyway.
Give it to my people real fucking hard. I like it. They need it because we can't coddle people at all times. There's a nice way of doing it. But so keep going.
To me, nice is like helping you get where you want to be, but that's okay. So, end of the day, it's like, I don't want to pay somebody $50,000, but wait, you're paying yourself $250,000 right now because you're spending half your time doing those things. So you're the business owner and you're paying yourself $250,000 to do those tasks. Is that a smart business move? So we move from that gross commission income talk, which kills everybody's business, into net income and profitability in a true way, like a normal business, not like they say in real estate where like you make all the money for your sales and then like a true business model. It really, really helps people move over. But what you're saying, you said something I want to comment on because it's so crucial. We know statistically speaking, particularly in Canada, women entrepreneurs will leverage and hire at half the rate of men. And it's a really important thing to think about, right? Because when we're trying to nurture female leaders, they're doing on average 4 times more domestic work, managerial work at home, and then they're doing half the help at work, and they're saying, why can't I compete? Why can't I grow? Why am I so burnt out? That's why I have really low overhead at home. Because I'm like, I need to be able to compete like for my dreams, but on a world stage, right?
Right.
So we need to know this and hear this because like, why aren't we leveraging and leaning in and getting help when we need to? Because the average solopreneur talks about cost. The teampreneur talks about investment, and I've heard you talk about this as well. And this is the multiplier effect. It's not a cost if you're costing yourself more by doing what you're doing now. You have more lost opportunity costs than you're going to have investment costs, which are going to pay you back.
100%.
And that's the strategist mindset, right, of a business owner.
Well, yeah. I mean, we just invested into all brand new equipment in this room.
Sure.
Everything in this room is brand new. Yes. Just want to make sure before I said that. And some of the team was, and I love them because they don't want me to go nuts and spend a lot of money where I don't have to and waste it. And I let them know that, look, guys, we are going to invest into brand new equipment because it's going to do a couple of things. Number one, we're going to be able to stay up with the times, and we're shooting in, so we shoot in 4K now and stuff, or what are we doing? We shoot we've been shooting HD. Okay. And so we got brand new cameras, and brand new mics. And not only are we going to be able to stay up with the times, we're also going to attract bigger people because they know that we're taking it seriously, right? Like the sign behind you was $2,000. Not necessarily. Not everybody will say that was a good way to spend money. Yeah, right? Like that sign there. We legit made a movable wall, 8-foot wall in a condo space to invest because I know the return on this is going to be 100x because I've already seen it at a smaller scale with what we invested into, like with our older mics and our older cameras. Now actually having its own space, we're not running around and we would be doing a condo project launch, and then within 5 minutes we would try to switch that room into a podcast, and shit got lost. We lost maybe a lead here, like things happen. Now this is set just for content creation, right? And so rather than, and you mentioned, and I appreciate, maybe I'm sure you saw a video or something where I said that like you can't look at this as an expense. It's nice that you get to write it off and all that. That's really cool. But you have to look at this as an investment because the possible returns could be massive when it comes to your business, what you can actually get back, right?
Yeah, and test the market. I mean, I think too, the mentality of I'm going to go get a $500,000 loan. I'm like, you're in real estate. Like, go and sell some houses and invest a certain percentage. And maybe that's the single mom survivor in me that I'm like, I like cash flow.
I think it's
really
smart.
like it.
Yeah, I think it's just smart, right? Like, look, you make $1. It's quite simple. Make $1, keep 30 cents away for those guys called CRA. They're going to come knocking at some point. Sure. You got the 30 cents on that dollar. You got 30 cents to get your, like, I love what you talked about. You kept your, like, your carrying costs very, very low. Your overhead, you use the word overhead. So maybe, like, you need to be at a place, somebody that's watching and listening, like, you gotta cancel shit. Like, you maybe can't go on vacation right away, right? And so you have 30 cents of the dollar to spend on all your expenses, living and eating and all that. And then 30 cents it has to go into R&D. Like it has to go into research and development. It has to go back into the business when it comes to marketing, right? Is that kind of what you coach people on? I might be off on that.
That's a huge part of moving from solopreneur to expanding, because often the solopreneurs are actually under investing in their business because they see it as, no, I got paid that. It's like, but you're not reinvesting anything to grow. So we need that percentage. So yeah, 100%.
Right. It's and I think that's what's going to give people, like, especially in a time like this where, look, I'm a very positive person. I'm very optimistic, but the numbers are the numbers, right? Like 41% less sales are happening in the Greater Toronto Area. That means that you, like, the amount of the volume, let's just call it black and white, the volume of sales has gone down. So you're not going to be doing as much business as you were last year. That doesn't mean that you can't survive, let alone, and you can't thrive in this business, right? Because I also think there's going to be less competition in terms of real estate agents, which we've seen before. However, once you come to realize that you have put away some money, like, I feel good. Like, I'm more like you, Kathleen. Like you said, it's the single mother thing. I think it's just like, when you go through some stuff in life, and you went through, like, the separation and the stuff that you mentioned, I've been through stuff in my life, like, you start to say, you know what, man, it makes me fucking feel good at night that I got some money under the pillow. Like, it just feels good. Like, you can make some moves. Like, when you can take advantage of a compelling buying opportunity, but you also know how it feels when you didn't have anything.
Absolutely.
Right. And so I think it comes down to, like, really figuring out what you want to accomplish, why you actually want to accomplish it, because as when obstacles will come your way, you got to make sure you have a strong why. And then it's something that I, unfortunately, as someone, as myself who does a lot of content, you as a coach, there's one thing that I feel like we can't actually put into somebody, and I wish we could, and I'm sure you fucking have sleepless nights around this, and I'm getting passionate about it because it's the one thing that I haven't figured out yet, which is making people take massive action daily. Like, that's the one thing, you know, like, I think we can help people with what they want, why they want it. I haven't yet myself, so would love to get your take on it. Like, how do you actually get somebody to take action daily?
And it's interesting because
I'm sure that's what you have in your life right now is because of all the action that you have taken, and all those sleepless nights that you've had, and all the no's that you heard, but you just kept going, and you know what I mean? You just kept on taking action. Yet I think where I've seen people not get the results they want is because they gave up. Like,
and it's so important what you're bringing up. So a couple things. Like, first of all, I think like, when we're doing all this business building, like, my first book is Top 1% Life. It's not Top 1% Business. So, I mean, I wouldn't do this anymore if I can't go on my adventures. I just wouldn't. I'm like, I do it to go on and because I love it. Like, I love what I do. It's my passion. I believe it's my life's calling. Don't get me wrong. But I need the adventures. Like, I need to go. But that's important. But think about how many people build a business into a prison. They're locked in it. They hate what they're doing. They did the business to make the money, to do what they want, and they won't let themselves do what they want. So I think that's really important.
You're designing your business around your life, not the other way around.
Hands down.
I love that.
Yeah, hands down. And that's what I do with my clients. So I find that they're more invest in it, because it's like, it's your dream. But we get to a point, again, that ego to conscious to collective. I have a new keynote all about this, which I love because I love that work. But it's like, when you get to collective as leaders, we have to be very, very careful, because we're the most susceptible to like toxic energy, enablement energy, because we want to pull people on this trail because our job is to help them be successful, but we cannot walk for them. So as leaders, if they're not willing to walk, I got to let you sit there. I got to let you go.
How much time do you get? Like how do you get to a place in your mind to say, you know what, this person is not going to be someone that's going to drink the water when I take them to the well?
Well, and I think the better we get at recruitment, at training, at accountability in a good way, because all high performance environments always have accountability. And I find leaders like, but I care about my people. You can care about your people and still have a high performance environment and protect their business and yours. Those things are not in competition whatsoever. So I think the better we get as leaders to have those things in place, the more we can trust we did everything we needed to do. If you're not there yet, you're going to learn and get better by trying, but you get to a point where like, we're good. The other people, they're coming through this, they're good. So like you can talk about performance review, but I love like, have a meeting, talk about what needs to change, have a meeting and put it in writing, both sign off on it. Make it clear. What are we agreeing to change? 1 week later, we're going to meet again. Where's your tracking? Where are you at? It's like, to me, that's a service of love. Like, I care enough about you to try to get you where you want to be. And if you don't want to be there anymore, I wish you well wherever you go.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah. And I'm sure you start to then just, because you have that culture, you start to attract more people that are actually wanting to be like, that are actually coachable, for example, right? Like we were using that word earlier, where, I mean, there's LDL at the top there. It stands for leaders developing leaders, right?
Yes.
I think
what they do.
Right? I think that's what they try to do. But you're right. I mean, we're definitely, like, we can get toxic people around us because all we want to do is try to help them. We want them to like grow. It's like, oh, let me just, can I just choke you to get you there kind of thing, right? And it's tough sometimes.
It's tough all the time. But the interesting thing is, if you have a lot of toxicity around, or even one, because wherever there's toxicity, there's enablement, always, hands down. It's like, there's no exception. But they will like, as a leader, if you have someone toxic around you, not only are they not doing what they need to do, but you're failing as a leader. Why aren't you doing this for me? So it becomes, there's an interesting quote, and I wish I knew who said it, but basically it's, as leaders, we can't influence anybody enough to make them come up, but people want to pull us down, they can influence us. And if we allow them to stay in our environment, they will. And we're not stronger than that. We're not. So we have to be very careful.
Yeah, especially because when you care so much, like, you don't want to disappoint people, right?
Yeah, you want to help them.
You want to help them, and you actually sometimes don't even see the amount of energy that they're sucking out of you, because, or sometimes it's like more like an anaconda, right? Like, they're just squeezing it out of you, right? Where I think it's very important as a leader to have some people around you as well that kind of protect you from that, right? So I know that I've put some people around me, my business partner Simeon, my business partner Laura, like my family at home, obviously. I mean, that's kind of pedestal stuff where, like, they kind of watch my back. Like, when I'm like not, when I'm not as positive, they know there's somebody around probably that's squeezing that out of me, right? Talk to me about your programming, like your all your programs, and how people like, and make this very self-promotional. It's all cool. Like, my guys are okay with that. In terms of like where people can find out more information. But before you tell us where to go, like, tell us like how your coaching program is kind of set up.
Yeah, for sure. So we launched a whole new platform last year because I do a lot of competitive analysis. So I do a lot of coaching. Like, I've spent more than 300,000 in coaching and personal, and I'll spend more. I hope I get to 1 million. Like, please, I want, as long as it's valuable.
Because you know the return that you're getting on it.
I do. Like, if I can't expand, my business can't expand. So I focus on that. But so we went and modeled the most successful coaching platforms that are scaling. And then we looked at real estate. So real estate is still more one-on-one. The rest of the entrepreneur world is much more group, because you can scale it and make tons of money. So we looked at it and said, wait a minute, our clients have done the most results based on the one-on-one. So how do we bring them together? So we have a continuum now that starts with solopreneur, where they get some one-on-one coaching time, but they also get access to expert calls. So we bring in experts to support them, including myself, but who they go into group calls and they have one-on-one time to get clear as leaders, get confident as leaders, know where they want to go. Because until they get clear and confident, I can't help them implement what the top 1% implement, because it seems foreign to them. So I need to expand their mind first. And then the second level is called top 1% life, because now We're hiring the admin. We're setting up the CRM. We're setting up all your platforms so that you can move up to Industry Icons, which is our playground, because that is the first all-inclusive team platform for coaching and training in the real estate industry that we know of. So you get weekly, hourly, one-on-one coaching time, but then you also get coaching for your admins on Tuesdays, mindset and marketing on Mondays, Thursdays are team leaders, Wednesdays sales training, ISA training, like advanced. And Fridays is like a drop-in. So if you're a team leader, you're like, I have a new agent, they have all these questions, they can come on Friday and be like, I have questions. I need help.
This is not like a time period, like for a year or anything. It's just ongoing.
Ongoing. I have
forever.
clients I've coached like 12 years.
I love it.
Yeah. So
I love it.
It's like so the goal now is to move up and do better and expand with us, right? So we want them to win, then we win.
And I take it that like probably the number one thing they get, other than all the stuff that you mentioned, and you know, maybe there's something else that I'm missing, but for me, I would think it's the fact that there's somebody holding them accountable. Would you agree with that?
Well,
just
there's third-party natural testimony, because we've built with some of the bigger, like we do focus on efficiency, profitability, and production. We do. We work with high performance teams. This is very true. So some people are doing the more brokerage model, which is cool. We can support it as a team, but we really set them up to make sure that like they have all our systems, they're all integrated, right? So if they use one system and they build, we're making sure they're not going to get capped if they become the number one team in the country. And to me, that's really important. Or if they never want to be a team, that's cool too. Like we'll support you, but we have a vault, all the videos, like any system tool you could need to go up to 2,000 deals a year. We have it. So
I love it. How do people get information on this?
So we do strategy calls, again, complimentary, of course. Interview us. We're definitely interviewing you if you're watching this on purpose, because we want to invest in the right people, because they're our for sale sign. Right? So like I want our for sale sign sold and you're happy and you're killing it. So every 12 months, we actually celebrate our clients. So we put our money where our mouth is. We're like, hey, every 12 months, these people quadrupled, they doubled, they tripled. And there's tons of them. Like this time we had to have 3 issues in Buzz to get them all out. So you can go on our website, you can check that out and decide which level you identify with, book a strategy call, and we'll talk about your goals, get clear, and make recommendations.
And what's the website address?
Oh, sorry, website. Yeah, it's ittakes.team. It takes .team.
That's pretty easy. Yes, a .team.
It's not .com. It's .team.
.team instead of .com. I love it. Yeah. We'll make sure that it's all in the links and everything. Kathleen, I've been watching you from afar, and we've in the last 6-7 months we've just ended up doing stuff together.
Yeah, it's great.
So it's kind of cool, the collaboration that's been happening. I look forward to doing more. And if there's any other value that I could ever bring because of the value that you brought today to not only to me, but I know my viewers and listeners, but again, to me personally, though, first and foremost, because I am selfish when it comes to this podcast. And I just wanted to thank you, and again, extend the fact that I'm more than happy to bring you value in any which way I could ever kind of repay you for the time that you gave me today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate that.
I'll give you one of these,
Yeah.
and that's a wrap.